The stars looked different from the observation deck of the UESF Defiance. Admiral Alan Carter stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his gray eyes fixed on the endless void beyond the reinforced glass. At 53, he had spent most of his life among the stars, but the wonder of space never grew old. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command," said Lieutenant Greg Howard, approaching with a tablet in hand. Carter nodded and took the device. The message was brief but clear. An unknown ship had been detected near the colony on New Eden. This wasn't the first time unknown objects had been spotted, but something about this one felt different. "Set course for New Eden," Carter ordered. "And get Dr. Miller up here. If this is what I think it is, we'll need her expertise." Within minutes, Dr. Laura Miller arrived on the bridge. Her blonde hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and despite being woken from sleep, her blue eyes were alert and focused. "You think it's first contact?" she asked without preamble. "I've been in space long enough to trust my gut," Carter replied, "and my gut says we're not alone anymore." The Defiance shifted course, its engines humming as it prepared for the jump to faster-than-light travel. The year was 2157, and humanity had only recently mastered FTL technology. In just a few decades, they had established colonies on several planets within 20 light-years of Earth. New Eden was their farthest outpost, a lush garden world that promised a bright future for human expansion. What humans didn't know was that they had caught the attention of the oldest and most powerful civilization in the galaxy. In the central chamber of the Imperial flagship, Emperor Zack Savorn sat upon his living throne, a massive construction of both organic and mechanical parts that had sustained his life for over 3 centuries. His skin was pale blue and deeply wrinkled, with eyes that had turned milky with age. "These humans," he said, his voice like dry leaves rustling. "Tell me again why they concern us, High Commander." High Commander Thule bowed low, his red uniform gleaming under the chamber's lights. "They expand quickly, Your Eternal Majesty. Their technology advances at an alarming rate. In just one of their generations, they have gone from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel. Many species develop quickly," the Emperor said with a dismissive wave of his 6-fingered hand. "Most burn out just as fast." "These are different," Thule insisted. "They've colonized 5 worlds already. The world they call New Eden lies at the edge of the Sentin sector." For the first time, the Emperor showed interest. The Sentin sector contained valuable resources that the Empire had been saving for future use. "Show me these humans," he commanded. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing images collected by Imperial scouts. Humans going about their daily lives on New Eden, building homes, farming land, teaching children. "They look soft," the Emperor observed. "What of their military capabilities?" Thule gestured, and the display changed to show human ships and weapons. "Primitive by our standards. Their most advanced warship would be no match for even our smallest patrol vessel." The Emperor's thin lips curved into what passed for a smile. "Then perhaps it is time we introduced ourselves to these ambitious neighbors. Arrange a diplomatic meeting. Let us see what manner of beings they truly are." "As you command," Thule replied, though his expression remained troubled. There was something about these humans that unsettled him, something the raw data couldn't capture. The Defiance arrived at New Eden 3 days later. The colony was still small, with only about 20,000 settlers spread across the main continent. From orbit, their lights created a delicate pattern against the dark landscape. "Admiral," Lieutenant Howard called out, "we're picking up a signal. It's not one of ours." The bridge fell silent. This was the moment humanity had both dreamed of and feared since they first looked up at the stars. Dr. Miller moved to Howard's station. "Can we decode it?" "It seems to be using basic mathematical principles as a foundation," Howard replied, his fingers flying over the controls. "I think our computers can crack it." After several tense minutes, the speakers crackled to life. The voice that came through was clearly artificial, a translation program of some kind. "Human vessels. This is the Galactic Imperial Ship Dominator. We request diplomatic contact. Respond." Carter exchanged glances with Miller before stepping forward. "This is Admiral Alan Carter of the United Earth Space Force vessel Defiance. We acknowledge your request for diplomatic contact and welcome peaceful communication." There was a pause before the reply came. "Prepare to receive visitors. Coordinates follow." Howard looked up from his console. "They're suggesting a meeting on the planet's surface, sir, in the main colony." Carter frowned. "I don't like the idea of unknown aliens walking into our colony." "It could be a show of trust on their part," Miller suggested. "Or they could be testing our response." After a moment's consideration, Carter nodded. "Very well. Alert the colony governor. Dr. Miller, you'll come with me as our xenobiology expert. Lieutenant Howard, prepare a security team. Diplomatic protection only. We want to make a good first impression." The Imperial shuttle landed with precision in the center of New Eden's main settlement. It was sleek and silent, its purple-black hull seeming to absorb the sunlight rather than reflect it. A crowd of colonists gathered at a safe distance, murmuring in excitement and fear. When the doors opened, the humans got their first look at members of the Galactic Empire. 3 figures emerged, tall, thin beings with blue skin in various shades. They moved with a fluid grace that suggested they were comfortable in New Eden's gravity, which was slightly lower than Earth standard. The lead alien wore elaborate robes, of deep red with gold patterns that shifted and moved as if alive. He stepped forward and spoke, his translator converting his words into English. "I am Diplomatic Envoy Velk of the Eternal Galactic Empire. I speak with the voice of Emperor Zaxvorn, ruler of 1,000 worlds." Carter stepped forward. "Admiral Alan Carter, representing the United Earth government and its colonies. This is Dr. Laura Miller, our xenobiology specialist, and Governor Sam Wilson of New Eden Colony." The alien's large, pupilless eyes studied each human in turn. "Your species is new to interstellar travel. The Empire has existed for over 10,000 of your years. We have watched your development with interest." Something in the way he said interest made Carter's neck hair stand on end. "We're eager to establish peaceful relations," Carter replied carefully. "There's much we could learn from each other." Velk made a gesture that might have been amusement. "Indeed. The Emperor wishes to inform you that your colony here exists on the edge of Imperial space. Future expansion will require Imperial approval." Governor Wilson stepped forward, his face flushing. "This planet was uninhabited when we arrived. We've claimed it under United Earth law." "Your laws do not concern the Empire," Velk said flatly. "However, the Emperor is generous. This colony may remain provided you acknowledge Imperial authority in this sector." Carter placed a restraining hand on Wilson's arm. "We'll need to consult with our government before making any such acknowledgments. We hope the Empire understands our diplomatic processes." Velk's expression didn't change, but the temperature seemed to drop several degrees. "The Empire has limited patience for diplomatic delays. You have 30 of your days to provide an answer." With that, the aliens turned and re-entered their shuttle. As the ship rose silently into the sky, Dr. Miller whispered, "Did they just threaten us?" "I believe they did," Carter replied grimly. "And something tells me that was just the beginning." Back on the Imperial shuttle, Envoy Velk contacted the flagship. "The humans are as primitive as expected, High Commander. They speak of consultation and diplomatic processes." High Commander Thul's voice came through clearly. "The Emperor has already made his decision, Envoy. These humans must learn their place in the galaxy. Prepare the demonstration fleet." "What of the diplomatic grace period?" Velk asked, surprised. "That was merely to give them false hope," Thul replied. "The attack begins tomorrow. This human colony will serve as an example to Earth. The lesson will be memorable." As the shuttle climbed higher, New Eden spread out below, its settlers unaware that they had just met the architects of their destruction. The Empire had made its decision, and its first terrible mistake. The emergency meeting room in the United Earth Government headquarters was filled with tense faces. 6 months had passed since the attack on New Eden. The colony, once home to 20,000 people, was now a memorial site. Only a few hundred Survivors had escaped the Imperial assault. President Samantha Rivera stood at the head of the table, her dark hair streaked with new gray strands. On the wall behind her, screens showed the latest updates from Earth's colonies and defense posts. "The latest intelligence reports confirm what we suspected," she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "The Empire is preparing for a full-scale invasion. They believe the attack on New Eden broke our spirit." General Frank Peterson, head of the United Earth Space Force ground troops, leaned forward. His weathered face showed the strain of the past 6 months. "Instead, it united us," he said. "For the first time in history, every nation on Earth is working together. Our production of ships and weapons has tripled." Dr. Nathan Wells, a thin man with round glasses and nervous hands, cleared his throat. "The technology we recovered from New Eden has been invaluable. My team has adapted some of their shield designs to our ships." Admiral Carter, who had been silent until now, looked up from the tablet he had been studying. "It won't be enough. The Empire has thousands of ships, and they've been fighting wars for 10,000 years. We need an edge." President Rivera nodded. "That's why we authorized the mission you proposed, Admiral. What's the status?" Carter tapped his tablet and the main screen showed a small, fast ship with stealth modifications. "The Shadowhawk returned this morning. Lieutenant Howard led the mission personally into Imperial territory." The door opened and Howard entered. He looked thinner than 6 months ago, and a new scar ran along his jawline. But his eyes were bright with purpose. "Lieutenant," Rivera said, "please share what you found." Howard stood at attention. "Madam President, my team infiltrated the Imperial forward base in the Proxima system. We discovered their attack plans and, more importantly, a critical weakness in their fleet." He placed a small device on the table, and a hologram appeared showing Imperial ship schematics. Their vessels rely on a central power core that feeds both weapons and shields. There's a brief moment during power cycling when both systems are vulnerable. It only lasts for 2 seconds, but with precise timing, our weapons could penetrate their defenses. General Peterson studied the hologram closely. "This is exactly what we needed. But how do we coordinate an attack to exploit such a small window?" "Doctor," Wells pushed his glasses up his nose. "I may have a solution for that. My team has developed a new targeting system. If we calibrate it to detect these power cycles, we could time our attacks automatically." For the first time in months, hope flickered in the room. President Rivera looked at each person present. "How soon can we implement these changes to our fleet?" "The modifications can be ready in 2 weeks," Dr. Wells replied. "The Empire won't wait much longer," Carter warned. "Our scouts report their invasion fleet is nearly assembled." Rivera stood, straight, her decision made. "Then we don't wait for them to come to us. Admiral Carter, General Peterson, prepare our forces. In 3 weeks, we launch a preemptive strike against their forward bases." As the meeting ended, Carter approached. "Howard, good work, Lieutenant. That was a risky mission." Howard's expression darkened. "After what they did to New Eden, I'd go much deeper into enemy territory if needed, sir." Carter nodded in understanding. Everyone had lost someone at New Eden. The Imperial capital world, Emperor Zaxivorn was growing impatient. From his living throne, he glared at High Commander Thule. "Why is the human world not yet under our control?" the Emperor demanded. "It has been half a cycle since our demonstration of power." Thule bowed low. "The humans have proven more resilient than expected, Your Eternal Majesty. After our attack on their colony, they increased their military production instead of suing for peace." "Impossible," the Emperor scoffed. "Our records show that lesser species always surrender after a display of imperial might. These humans appear to be different," Thule said carefully. "They have united their previously divided world. Our spies report they are adapting our technology for their own use." The Emperor waved a dismissive hand. "Their primitive minds cannot truly understand our science. Proceed with the invasion as planned. I want Earth under Imperial control within 1 standard month." As Thule left the chamber, he was met by Scout Commander Rith, a younger Imperial with sharp features and concerned eyes. The Emperor does not understand the threat these humans pose, Rith said quietly as they walked the palace corridors. It is not our place to question the Emperor's wisdom, Thule replied, though doubt showed in his face. I have studied their history, Rith continued. These humans have fought countless wars against each other. They know violence like few species do, and now we have given them a common enemy. Thule stopped walking. What are you suggesting? Only that we should prepare for stronger resistance than the Emperor expects, Rith said carefully. Thule considered this for a moment. Increase our forward defenses, but speak of this to no one else. The Emperor's orders stand. Back on Earth, the preparations continued day and night. Factories that once made cars now produced fighter craft. Scientists worked around the clock to integrate Imperial technology into human designs. In her private lab, Dr. Laura Miller studied biological samples from the Imperial bodies recovered at New Eden. The revelation of her research would change the course of the war, but for now, she worked in silence, her focus absolute. At the United Earth Space Force Academy, new pilots trained in simulators programmed with everything known about Imperial flight patterns. Among them was Olivia Bennett, a young woman whose parents had been teachers on New Eden. Her determination made her stand out among the other cadets. In a secure workshop, engineer Paul Jackson made final adjustments to the prototype Thunderbolt fighter. It was smaller than traditional human fighters but incorporated Imperial power systems that made it faster and more maneuverable than anything humans had built before. Will it work? Asked General Peterson, watching from the doorway. Jackson ran, a hand through his messy brown hair. In theory, yes. It's designed to get in close to their big ships, attack during the power cycle vulnerability, and get out before they can respond. And if it doesn't work? Jackson looked up, his expression serious. Then we need to build something better fast. 3 weeks later, Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the newly refitted Defiance. The ship had been upgraded with the best of human and adapted Imperial technology. Around it gathered the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. 120 ships of various sizes, all modified with Dr. Wells' targeting systems. All ships report ready, Admiral, Lieutenant Howard said from his station. Carter looked at the tactical display showing their target, the Imperial forward base in the Proxima system. According to Howard's intelligence, 50 Imperial vessels were stationed there preparing for the assault on Earth. Send the message to all ships, Carter ordered. Operation First Strike is go. As the human fleet prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel, Carter thought about how much had changed in 6 months. The Empire had expected humans to break under pressure. Instead, they had forged themselves into something stronger. The stars blurred as the fleet jumped, heading toward their first real battle with the Galactic Empire. In the Proxima system, Imperial Commander Velk, the same diplomat who had first contacted humans at New Eden, received an urgent message from his sensor officer. Multiple contacts appearing at the system edge, the officer reported, his voice rising in alarm. They match human ship signatures, but there are over 100 of them. Velk's face showed shock for the first time in his long career. Impossible. Our intelligence said they had fewer than 30 warships in total. The humans are hailing us, another officer announced. Put it through, Velk ordered. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the screen. Imperial Forces, this is Admiral Alan Carter, of the United Earth Space Force. Remember New Eden. The transmission cut off and the human fleet accelerated toward the Imperial base. The Empire's first war with humans had truly begun, and already they were discovering their mistake in underestimating humanity's response to aggression. The Battle of Proxima changed everything. 1 year into what humans now called the Survival War, Admiral Carter stood before a holographic map showing the front lines of the conflict. What had begun as a desperate strike against an Imperial forward base had evolved into a full-scale war spanning dozens of star systems. The Empire has pulled back their forces from these 3 sectors, Carter said, highlighting areas on the map. The room was filled with military leaders and government officials who had gathered for the war's 1-year strategic review. President Rivera studied the map with tired but determined eyes. They never expected to be on the defensive, did they? No. Madam President, Carter replied. According to the intelligence we've gathered, the Emperor assured his war council that humans would be conquered within a month. Their entire strategy was based on that assumption. General Peterson pointed to several blinking red dots. These are the Empire's major supply bases. Thanks to Major Bennett's special operations teams, we've hit 7 of them in the past 3 months. A video feed activated showing Major Olivia Bennett. Her brown hair was cut short for practicality, and a new scar ran across her forehead. She was currently aboard the stealth ship Nighthawk, deep in Imperial territory. Major, your report? President Rivera asked. My team successfully destroyed the Imperial supply depot in the Tau Ceti system yesterday, Bennett reported. We used the new shadow step technology to bypass their sensor grid. They never knew we were there until the explosion started. Carter nodded with approval. Bennett had earned her reputation for achieving the impossible. Her special operations teams struck targets the Empire believed were completely secure, then disappeared before reinforcements arrived. What's the status of the Thunderbolt squadrons? Rivera asked. Engineer Paul Jackson stepped forward, bringing up schematics of the fighter craft that had proven so effective against Imperial vessels. Production has increased tenfold, he said proudly. We now have 20 squadrons operational. The Empire still hasn't found a way to counter their speed and targeting systems. The meeting continued with reports of victories and losses, strategies and plans. When it concluded, Carter found Dr. Miller waiting for him in the corridor. You have news? He asked her quietly. Miller nodded, her expression serious. The biological samples I've been studying. I've confirmed my theory. The Imperials aren't naturally long-lived. The Emperor and his inner circle use technology to extend their lives. Without regular treatments, their bodies would age rapidly. Carter's eyes widened slightly. That's a potential weakness if their leadership fears death more than defeat. Exactly. They might be willing to negotiate rather than risk their immortality, Miller concluded. As they walked, discussing the implications, Lieutenant Howard rushed up to them. Admiral, we've intercepted communications from the Imperial capital. There appears to be conflict within their leadership. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Zaxvorn's rage was terrible to behold. Servants cowered as he paced the throne room, his withered body trembling with anger. A full year, and these humans not only resist but push back our forces, he shouted. How is this possible? High Commander Thule stood rigidly, aware that his position, and perhaps his life, was in danger. The humans have proven more adaptable than any species we've encountered, Your Eternal Majesty. They've reversed engineered our technology at an alarming rate. Excuses, the Emperor spat. I want Earth destroyed, not conquered. Destroyed. Prepare the planet killer. A shocked murmur ran through the assembled officials. The planet killer was a weapon of last resort, never used in 10,000 years of Imperial history. Prince Zaxmorden, the Emperor's son and heir, stepped forward. Unlike his father, he had observed the humans with growing respect rather than contempt. Father, I must object, he said, his voice calm but firm. Using the planet killer would violate our own laws. The humans have not committed extinction-level crimes. The Emperor turned his milky eyes toward his son. You dare question me? These humans threaten everything we've built. Their very existence has inspired rebellion among our vassal worlds. This was true. Several species long dominated by the Empire had begun passive resistance after seeing humans successfully fight back. Supply shipments were delayed, information became unreliable, and in some sectors, Imperial governors reported growing unrest. Perhaps, said Prince Zaxmorden carefully, there is another approach. The humans have shown they cannot be easily defeated, but they might be reasoned with. I could lead a diplomatic mission. Enough, the Emperor roared. There will be no diplomacy with lesser beings. Thule, you will carry out my orders or be replaced. As the Emperor stormed out, Prince Zaxmorden exchanged glances with Scout Commander Rith, who had been the first to warn of the human threat. Something unspoken passed between them. The Proxima Centauri system had once been an Imperial forward base. Now, it was the site of the largest space battle in human history. Admiral Carter, commanding from the bridge of the Defiance, watched as his forces engaged an Imperial armada twice their size. "Thunderbolt squadrons, focus on their flagship," he ordered. "Strike during power cycles only." On his tactical display, he could see the tiny fighter craft darting through the Imperial formation. Led by a brilliant young pilot named Steve Klein, they moved too quickly for the Imperial gunners to track. "Admiral," Lieutenant Howard called out, "enemy reinforcements detected entering the system." Carter's heart sank. His fleet was already fully committed. If the Empire brought in fresh ships, the battle, and perhaps the war, would be lost. But the lieutenant's next words changed everything. "Sir, they're firing on the Imperial ships. I'm detecting rebel signatures mixed with... These can't be..." "Right. These are signals from at least 3 different vassal species." On the main view screen, Carter watched in amazement as ships of various designs fell upon the Imperial fleet from behind. Leading them was a sleek vessel of clearly Imperial design but bearing unfamiliar markings. "We're being hailed by the lead ship," Howard reported. "Put it through," Carter ordered. The screen showed a young Imperial male with aristocratic features. "Admiral Carter, I am Prince Zax Morden, heir to the Imperial throne. I come with allies who wish to end this war." Carter's expression remained carefully neutral. "That's a claim that requires proof, Your Highness." "Indeed," the prince replied. "Allow me to provide some immediately." He turned and gave an order in his native language. Moments later, the Imperial flagship erupted in explosions as its shields failed. The Thunderbolt squadrons had struck at precisely the right moment, but the damage was far greater than their weapons could have caused alone. "Internal sabotage," Zax Morden explained. "Commander Rith and others loyal to me have been working from within. We believe the Empire has lost its way under my father's rule." The battle turned decisively after that. With attacks coming from both the human fleet and the rebel forces, the Imperial armada broke apart. Some ships surrendered, others fled, and a few fought to the bitter end. When it was over, Carter invited Prince Zax Morden aboard the Defiance. In a private meeting room, they were joined by President Rivera via secure video link. "Why should we trust you?" Rivera asked directly. "Because the Empire's war against humanity was unjust from the beginning," the prince replied. "And because I have seen enough death. My father plans to use the Planet Killer against Earth." Carter frowned. "Planet Killer?" "A weapon capable of shattering a world's crust, rendering it uninhabitable. It has never been used. But my father has ordered its preparation." Rivera and Carter exchanged grim looks. "What are you proposing?" Rivera asked. "An alliance," said Zax Morden. "Many within the Empire question this war, especially among the younger generation, and the vassal species have watched humanity's resistance with growing hope. Together, we can force my father to step down and end this conflict." It was a turning point in the war. The Battle of Proxima Centauri would be remembered not just for the human victory, but for the moment when the Empire began to fracture from within. As the meeting concluded, Carter stood at the viewport, watching Earth ships and former Imperial vessels side by side. "Do you think we can trust them?" Lieutenant Howard asked quietly. Carter considered the question. "Trust is earned, but right now, we share a common enemy, and sometimes that's enough to start with." The tide of war had turned. The Empire's greatest mistake, underestimating humans, had not only failed to destroy humanity, but was now threatening to unravel the Empire itself. 2 years into the war, Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined. Cities once dedicated to commerce and culture now produced warships and weapons. Children learned about alien species in schools, and the night sky was no longer a mystery, but a battlefield where humanity fought for its survival. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Carter studied the latest intelligence reports. Prince Zax Morden's rebellion had spread to nearly a third of the Empire, and several vassal species had declared their independence outright. "Admiral," Lieutenant Howard said, entering the room with a grim expression, "we've intercepted a transmission from the Imperial capital. The Emperor has made his decision." Carter looked up. The planet killer? Howard nodded. According to our sources, it's being moved to a staging area near Saturn. They plan to launch the attack within the week. Carter's face hardened. They had known this might come. For months, Ambassador Lisa Conway had been working with Prince Zax Morden and representatives from former Imperial worlds to build a coalition. Now, it seemed, diplomacy had failed. Alert President Rivera, Carter ordered, and contact Prince Zax Morden. It's time for Operation Solar Shield. On the Imperial capital world, Emperor Zaxvorn sat alone in his private chamber. Age had taken an even greater toll in recent months. His skin hung loosely from his frame, and his breathing came in ragged gasps despite the medical technology sustaining him. A servant entered, bowing low. Your Eternal Majesty, High Commander Thule requests an audience. Send him in, the Emperor wheezed. Thule entered, his uniform immaculate as always, though new lines of stress marked his face. The planet killer has reached the staging area. Your Majesty, we await only your final authorization to proceed. The Emperor's thin lips curved into a smile. At last, these humans have cost us dearly, Thule. 1/3 of our fleet, countless resources, and the loyalty of our vassal worlds. Yes, Your Majesty, Thule replied, his voice carefully neutral. Though I must report that Prince Zax Morden's rebellion has gained further support. 5 more sector governors have declared for him. Traitors, the Emperor spat. Once Earth is destroyed, the rebellion will collapse. Fear will restore order as it always has. Thule hesitated before speaking again. There is one other matter, Your Majesty. Our intelligence suggests the humans may know about the planet killer. They appear to be gathering their forces near their home world. The Emperor waved a dismissive hand. It makes no difference. The planet killer cannot be stopped once deployed. Let them gather. They will have front-row seats to the death of their world. As Thule left the chamber, he passed a hidden communication device to a servant, one loyal to Prince Zax Morden. The servant hurried away with information that would soon reach both the prince and his human allies. Ambassador Lisa Conway had never imagined her diplomatic career would include creating an alliance with aliens. Yet here she was on the bridge of the Defiance, standing beside Admiral Carter and Alliance General Dakar, a former Imperial commander who had defected early in the rebellion. Dakar, a tall, blue-skinned being with ridge-like features, pointed to the tactical display showing the space around Jupiter. The planet killer must pass through this region to reach Earth. Its shields are strongest at the front but weaker along its sides. Then that's where we hit it, Carter said. Conway frowned. The combined fleet is still outmatched by the Imperial forces protecting the planet killer. That's why we need the trap to work perfectly, Carter replied. Lieutenant Howard's team has planted false intelligence suggesting our main fleet is gathering at Mars. In reality, he gestured, and the display shifted to show Jupiter's largest moon. We'll be waiting at Ganymede. When the Imperial fleet passes, we strike from behind while Prince Zax Morden's forces engage from the front. General Dakar nodded in approval. A classic pincer movement, but timing will be critical. The next few days were a blur of preparations. Ships from Earth and a dozen formerly subjugated worlds gathered in secret, using Jupiter's radiation belts to mask their presence. Meanwhile, a small decoy fleet made itself visible near Mars, broadcasting signals designed to be detected by Imperial scouts. On the eve of battle, Admiral Carter addressed the combined fleet from the bridge of the Defiance. Tomorrow we face the greatest threat in human history, he said, his voice carrying to thousands of ships across the solar system. The Empire believes they can end this war by destroying our homeworld. They see it as erasing a mistake, the mistake of allowing humanity to challenge them. He paused, looking at the diverse faces on his view screen. Humans, former Imperials, and representatives of species from across the galaxy. But their true mistake was believing that power alone brings victory. Throughout this war, we have proven that innovation, courage, and the willingness to stand together against tyranny are stronger than any weapon. Tomorrow, we defend not just Earth, but the right of all beings to live free from Imperial control. Cheer went up across the fleet. transmitted from ship to ship, a sound unlike any heard before in the darkness of space. The Battle of Sol began at dawn Earth time. The Imperial fleet, massive and confident, entered the solar system with the planet killer at its center, a spherical construct the size of a small moon, its surface covered with weapons ports and emitter arrays. Emperor Zax Vorn himself observed, from the command ship, having left his throne world for the first time in decades to witness Earth's destruction personally. "Sensors detect the human fleet near Mars, Your Majesty," reported the tactical officer. "They appear to be preparing to engage." "Ignore them," the Emperor ordered. "They cannot stop us. Continue toward Earth." The Imperial Armada moved past Jupiter, unaware of what waited in the gas giant's shadow. When they were fully committed to their approach, Admiral Carter gave the order. "All ships execute Battle Plan Omega. Thunderbolt squadrons target the planet killer's lateral shields." The combined fleet erupted from hiding, catching the Imperial forces completely by surprise. At the same moment, Prince Zax Morden's rebellion ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in the path of the planet killer. On the Imperial command ship, chaos erupted. "We're surrounded," shouted the tactical officer. "Impossible," the Emperor hissed. "Where did they come from?" High Commander Thul's face remained expressionless. "It appears the humans anticipated our attack, Your Majesty." From his own ship, Prince Zax Morden opened a channel to his father's vessel. "Father, this war is over. Stand down the planet killer and surrender your throne. Enough blood has been spilled." "Traitor," the Emperor screamed. "I will see Earth shattered and your ships destroyed before I surrender anything." But even as he spoke, the battle was turning against the Imperial forces. The Thunderbolt squadrons, now joined by similar craft from allied species, darted through the Imperial formation. They targeted the power cycle vulnerabilities that had proven so effective throughout the war. Major Bennett's special operations teams, deployed in stealth ships, boarded several Imperial vessels and sabotaged their weapon systems from within. And on the planet killer itself, a team led by Lieutenant Howard fought their way to the main control center. "The shield generators are down," reported a jubilant voice over the fleet channel. "All ships target the planet killer's main reactor." The next few minutes were a storm of weapons fire as every ship in the combined fleet focused on a single point on the planet killer's surface. Explosions rippled across the massive weapon, growing in intensity until a blinding flash lit up the space around Jupiter. When the light faded, the planet killer was breaking apart, its pieces scattered harmlessly into space. On the Imperial command ship, Emperor Zax Vorn watched in disbelief as his ultimate weapon and his dreams of victory disintegrated before his eyes. "This cannot be," he whispered. "They are just humans." High Commander Thul turned to the Emperor. "That, Your Majesty, was always your biggest mistake." The Battle of Sol ended with the surrender of the Imperial fleet. Emperor Zax Vorn, his authority broken, was taken into custody by his own son. The war that had begun with an unprovoked attack on New Eden had come full circle, proving once and for all that underestimating humanity had been the Galactic Empire's greatest error. In the days that followed, Ambassador Conway met with representatives from dozens of worlds to sign the charter establishing a new galactic alliance. As she put her name on the document, she glanced at Admiral Carter. "Not bad for a species that was supposed to surrender after one attack," she said with a smile. Carter nodded, thinking of New Eden and all who had been lost. The Empire thought they were teaching us our place in the galaxy. Instead, they learned theirs. Across the stars, the news spread. The Empire had fallen, and in its place something new was rising. A union of worlds where no species would dominate another, and where humanity's tenacity would become legend.